Boom. Now you can hear. There was no music the whole time. That's funny. I didn't have it going out to master. I wasn't a masterful... Wait, you could hear the music, but not when I cut it off. Chat! It's wild out here. When your face went up, it died. You say. I swear to you, Conrad is just always doing the working. Still no Lucas, you say. Yeah, that's wild. Give me just a second. Give me just a second. I bet you I know. I bet you I know. I'm gonna fix this. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna go out to chat. Lucas. Can you hear Lucas now?
Can you guys hear me? Can everybody out in the internet world hear me? Can anyone?
You ever just, yes, yay. We good now. We Gucci.
Ah, okay.
He is loud and he is handsome. All right.
Wait, so I'm low, but I'm loud?
I don't know. You're good now. You're good now. You remember right before we first started? Yeah, even in Australia, says Metaverse guy. Woo! Chat, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the GMAE show. Today is June 28, 2022, 8:09 p.m. my local time. Lucas, do you live in Pacific time? You're an hour in the future. It's 9:09 p.m. where Lucas is.
No, it's 8:09.
What? Really?
Yeah. So, fun fact.
Okay.
I live in Arizona.
Yep.
And some of the parts of the state recognize daylight savings, some of it doesn't. And so there you go.
That's insanity.
Yeah, it is.
You know what? Had this exact conversation with Lucas, says Hodel Hill. Very good. Maddox of Furious saying it's 11:09. You know, Maddox, what were you living in? You were living in real time while we were there, which is wild to me. Because I came back and I slept for like 14 hours or something crazy. Just
I think we all did.
Block of sleep.
Yeah.
It was exhausting, but a lot of fun being at NFT NYC. In chat, before we get into what happened in New York City, for those of you who missed it.
We can't talk about all of it, because what happens in New York stays in New York.
I don't know about all that.
No, we're going to talk about all of it.
Too many people came back with confirmed COVID cases for that to be a fact.
Yeah.
Too many.
Hill's in the chat.
Like a load of, yes.
Ah.
Hill's like, I see you. We didn't miss all of it. That's true. You did not miss all of it. But.
Shout out to Hodel Hill, by the way. She's, we got to meet her in person, and she's a stunningly incredible human being.
Amazing person. It was cool. It was nice seeing you, but you were all over the place as well. I know, because that'll be a fun story. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that that story, because there's something that happened on night 2 that was pretty funny with Hill specifically.
Oh.
Yes. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the one piece of news that I wanted to highlight today because it happened today. This is the Sandbox game live stream. If you've never watched before, this is your first time watching, you can join us live over on YouTube, DLive, Theta, Facebook, Twitter.com, and Twitch.tv/The Sandbox Game, where we give you the news you need to know about the Sandbox, the Metaverse. You can ask questions about the Game Maker software, the asset creation software VoxEdit, or anything in the Metaverse live as well. During this show, we will be giving away a Wizzy-themed NFT. These NFTs are exclusive to our show, and when they run out, they are gone forever. Then we'll make a new edition of the NFT to give back to the community that watches us here live. It's been a wild week coming out of NFT NYC, and a surprising one, I will say. So I've worked here for a while. You guys know. You've seen me on the shows. I joined one of these shows that Alex was hosting a very long time ago. And in joining that show, I got into the live streaming space because I was like you, and he was trying to answer questions, and he needed a Lucas. In this case, Lucas here is helping me out by making sure that the questions that you guys ask don't get missed. And I helped him with those questions back in 2020. Since then, the Sandbox has exploded in terms of size, scope, scale, partners, friends, people watching live. It's been extraordinary. And it didn't click in my mind until about halfway through NFT NYC. But let's get into that piece of news before we get into it. The news. Lucas, you're going to help me out with this here.
Absolutely.
The news bit that we have to share with you is that you can now migrate your lands from the Ethereum main network to the Polygon network. We've talked about this a lot. You guys have asked about it a lot. If you didn't already know, you can go over to sandbox.game and use the bridging system that we have built in for a small amount of Ethereum, migrate over to the Polygon network, and you'll be ready for user-generated content in the Sandbox game. This feature change is good in many different ways, but ultimately will save you a whole bunch of money if you look at it as a US dollars cost basis, because you'll be able to mint to your lands when UGC is ready. And instead of paying the ETH mainnet fees, you're paying it as Matic, meaning that it's about 1/3 of a penny to mint your changes to your lands going forward. So, Lucas is so very nice.
Really excited about this, by the way.
That you were going to mint or make that transfer happen live, that migration. Is that right?
Heck yeah. I mean, only if you want me to.
I'm down
if you
for
don't.
it. I'm down for it.
All right. Let's rock
you
this.
guys might see a little bit of a slight degradation in quality because we are going to do this by, I will live stream his live stream. Typically we would pipe this in a special way, but we decided this just a couple minutes before the show. So forgive me if the visual quality isn't great, but you should get a really good idea of how this process works. And so I am going to pull this up over here right now. Give me just a sec. And you won't have our faces on it either. So, Lucas,
so
when you're
faces are disappearing.
I'm going to pull the audio up so you guys can still hear us. But also just keep in mind that you won't have our faces so that you can see as much of this migration clearly as possible.
Also, I'd just like to point one thing out. Yes, this will cost you ETH, but something that the Sandbox did that I thought was unreasonably cool was for each land you migrate, they're giving a claimable 10 M sand. So yeah. It cost me about $50 to transfer all my land at the end of everything, and I ended up getting over, like a good amount of sand. Like ended up getting 280 sand in the process. So it more than paid for everything times 4 or 5. I'm really bad at math.
So you like profited off of the migration.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's wild, but that's really cool. I agree. I did that. On this account, I had just the one that we're doing for the Wizzyverse, and I wanted to test it, and I sent it over. And I, again, just like you, like profited off it. The gas fee was so minimal to do this. It's really well done. So yeah, give me a second to set this up and make sure that our audio is going out here. Lucas, 1 sec.
Yeah. Way right now is 37.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
so nothing.
Yeah, super cheap, good price. And once again, folks, for this period, just keep in mind that we will have our faces off as we show you how to bridge on this system. And again, thank you, Lucas, for doing this for us live.
No, absolutely. I've been really excited about this and waiting for this for quite some time. So the fact that it's here, I'm a kid in a candy store. There's this is the beginning of a lot of things that are coming to the Sandbox, and I'm just. Whew. I'm all of Twitter. Okay, so I just dropped the link for the Polygon bridge process in the chat if anybody wants to follow along or anybody wants to do it themselves or needs notes after the fact. But it's a pretty simple process. The only thing that I'm going to say is once we get to the end of this, you might not want to wait around to see it finalize. But once we get to that point, it's one of those things where you're just waiting for the transaction to finish, and then it pops up and everything's good to go. Like for me earlier, it took like 24 minutes, but I also did it like a couple minutes after the contract went live. So I think that there was just a rush of people going in to do it. I mean, GMAE was also double what it is right now. Whoops. And so this is just, I'm guessing that it's going to be a lot cheaper, a lot faster, and a lot easier to do right now. So, I mean, I'm going to pull up the Git book here real quick. Second, and here we go. All right, so we're on my wife's account right now, by the way. So she was kind enough to let me jump on here. But you jump up to your profile icon, click on the bridge tab. It's going to bring you to this page right here. You head on down. I'm going to select all. You don't have to. You can select individual ones. And then the cool thing is you can also transfer back. So if you ever want to transfer from Polygon back to Ethereum, you can do that. This isn't a one-way street. So confirm that, confirm deposit. Right down here, it says 20 cash back, and the Ethereum fee, it's $5.86 right now. And that's estimated. My estimated was double what it actually was for me. And there's multiple transactions. This is the first. But once I'm done, I'll be able to claim 20 M sand, which is about $22, $23 right now. And 586 is well below that. So confirm. I'm going to jack up the gas just so it goes a little faster for you all. And now we sit back and wait. This isn't the long wait portion. This is step 1 of 4. There we go. That's already done. Now we're moving into the next step. Confirm this. And that's step 2. Now, step 2 literally took me earlier today when things were going nuts, probably about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. So it wasn't long. At any point in time, you can click off of it. And if you want to go back to check on things to see how everything's going, you just click on transaction history. And it'll... Oh, it's confirmed. Earlier when I did this, I clicked on transaction history, and in the right side here, there was a pop-up that showed me what was happening, what was going on. There we go. I'm gonna.
Now, what I did at this stage, there we go, is I refreshed it, and then it said there where it says pending deposit. You can see each one of the lands here says step 3 of 4, and that's step 3 of 4. As this is the long wait, but typically when you migrate over to Polygon, it'll give you a notice that says it takes about 7 minutes on average for those transactions to bundle and then confirm on their end of the chain, where it's essentially taking that land that is as ETH and storing it, and then giving you the wrapped version of the land, which is the Polygon version of the land. It's the same land. So when you unmigrate or what have you, it takes longer coming out than it does going in, but it's a normal process to have to wait a few minutes. I think mine ended up being like 12 minutes earlier today.
Okay. Yeah, and so I just went to Etherscan to check on my wife's wallet, and it already shows, or I should say doesn't show, that the 2 land tokens are in my wallet anymore. Yeah. Another thing I'd like to point out is on the Git book link that I dropped a little bit ago, it has all the contract addresses in there. So if you want to do your due diligence and see what contracts are doing what, like a lot of, like me, I'm paranoid. I want to know exactly what's happening and where it's happening and what's being taken from where and what's going to where. But it's got the contracts for the land deployed on Polygon, bridge for Polygon, or bridge for land to Polygon, bridge for land to Ethereum, sand Polygon, sand bridge Ethereum. But it's got all 5 of those, 5 of those addresses right there. So you can check it all out. It's a very comprehensive walkthrough. I've seen a lot of walkthroughs, and this one, it legit goes step by step with pictures and videos. So just give it a look. follow it through, and you will be just fine.
All right, so as we are waiting, I've transitioned us back into the traditional screen that we are in, which is the 2 heads up. What's up? Having fun chatting about NFT NYC. But before we get into that, I see a good question coming from Ice Pilot X7. And it says, if somebody gets their land hacked, does the sandbox have the ability to burn or disregard the stolen land and mint the victim a new one? And the answer to that is no. These non-fungible tokens are permanently minted on the blockchain. So if you were to get hacked, unfortunately, the NFT is still the NFT. It's still the authentic and real asset. So make sure you take a good care. And once again, don't click links. I don't care if your grandma showed them to you. Don't.
Especially if your grandma showed them to you.
Yeah, I mean, for real, like, especially if you're...
We all love our Mima, but she is bad with computers.
Right? Yes. Now, Rykopath says, 45 minutes and still waiting here. It freaked me out every time I do it. Feels like I'm going into the Wizard of Oz. And that does happen, Ryko. I'm going to tell you a fun story about migration once. I was coming back from Polygon. I sent myself a lot of money, like 6 figures worth of cash, coming from Polygon back to ETH main. And it took me about 20 plus hours. But I was freaking out. But if you see, as candidly Kristen is saying here in the chat, that your Etherscan transaction is there, usually it's going to verify those like many times before you'll actually see it on the Poly network, because Polygon is going to remint your asset, and it takes a little while. But usually, like I said, it bundles a lot of different transactions together on the Polygon network into singular transactions to help save on some of those transaction fees, a little more ecological this way, and other various things. So
that's the roll-up technology you're talking about right there, correct?
Yes, because you're gonna... One of the features of the layer 2 system that Polygon has is that it has a larger block space as well. So yeah, it does take me out. But yes. Just the fact that you mention it, Ryko, it's when I see it, even if you understand it, I love those kinds of comments and questions, because I want to be able to show as many people as possible that this is the normal process, and that, you know, we don't have to worry about it, because there's going to be a lot of people who are watching this later on VOD or something like that and going like, oh, I can do this and that is normal, you know, and feel good, because again, I was waiting like 20 plus hours for over $100,000, and I was like sweating. You know what I mean? I'm like, whoa. It can be stressful regardless of the amount. So
yeah, and no matter how many times you've done it, when the amounts get larger, it just gets it never stops being stressful, because that's kind of the point of a decentralized financial system, is that you are responsible for your finances. Mm-hmm. You are responsible for your assets. And because of that, if things go wrong, you can't go and blame big business or have them reimburse you. It's on you. So it's scary and it's exciting. You know, high risk, high reward. But if you're doing things right and you're being careful, I really don't think it's that risky.
Yeah, and then, okay, so we have a couple more comments or questions on here. One, Bruno Marshall over on YouTube is saying, what will happen if I do not claim the M-Sand that I earned by staking? Nothing. You just chose not to claim it. It continues to stack associated with your account. On that claimable side. I've done that before, where I let it set for like a month, even though you can claim it every 7 days, and just it was claimable when I got there. And Dancing Sweater over on YouTube is saying, I was under the impression I could buy land on the Polygon mainnet. Guess that's not the case. The fact is, you will be able to, and this facilitates that ability.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why that's another one of the reasons I'm so excited about this is because that just means there's a whole new world that's opening up, including land sales. Like, I'm pretty certain the next land sale's gonna be on Polygon.
We will see, because it depends on the setup of the infrastructure. If that gets transferred, it might be one more sale. But
okay,
I think there's enough time. I don't know if I can show. I don't think I can show it because my can goes invisible. This is LaCroix.
It's green,
sir. It's LaCroix. It's green, but it's LaCroix.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Ice Pilot's out here like, man, this guy's drinking on the job. Sneaky, invisible can. No, thank you. That's not how I roll. Well, except at NFT NYC, where we definitely did that, but not during the daytime. Did that at night during the party time. Lucas.
Yes.
Talking about NFT NYC. What are some of your highlights from the show? You were out and about. A lot of us were kind of hanging out there at the Gotham Hall with the Sandbox had rented or, used for our panels, for our parties, with partners and doing all those things. But you were going wild in terms of like wheeling and dealing as your studio, Voxel Ocean. So what were some of the highlights from NFT NYC for you, sir?
I mean, there's one very specific highlight that stands out. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But before we jump into that, just the overall vibe and feel of it, it was amazing. It was incredible. I've been to a bunch of mixers, meet and greets, like situations similar to that. For some reason, the word's escaping me, but I've never been to something like this, but I've been to a million things like it. It was one of a kind in the fact that, like, every time I've been in something that was, like, people were talking to other people to potentially drum up business, there was something very disingenuous about it. It was just, I don't know how to really describe it. Just people were there to blow smoke up their own nose. And but NFT NYC, everybody was genuinely happy to be there. Like every single person that I talked to, whether they were a potential future business partner or client or whatever the case may be, every single person I talked to was happy to be there. Every single person was excited to talk about what they're doing, what they're involved with, whether they were a studio owner, a project developer, an NFT collector, or a straight up investor. Everybody was excited to be there. And there's something about like being involved with that many like-minded individuals that just amps you up. Yeah. It was positive. It was productive. I came back completely exhausted and, like you said, slept for basically 20 hours straight. But if I was to do it all over again, I would not change a single moment. I would do it all exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the only thing I would do differently is I'd spend a little more time with the stream team. Like, I had so much fun engaging with all of you. It was unreal. Like, I knew we were going to vibe. I knew we were going to have a good time. But I didn't realize how much we would vibe and how good of a time it would be. It was incredible on so many different levels. So I can't say enough good things. But my highlight story, if you want me to get into that. Yeah. For all of you that don't know what I do, aside from streaming a couple days a week, I'm a partner in a company called Voxel Ocean, and we're a boutique studio within the Sandbox. We produce experiences for high-end clients. One of our clients is Dogg the Bounty Hunter. Another one of them is John Heder. And we've got some really good names, some big names behind us. We've got even more that we're working on. And I brought one of those clients to the Sandbox to talk to, hopefully talk to Sebastian about it. And I'll tell you, he's a tough man to pin down. Everybody wants to talk to him every single minute of the day. Yep. And so it was kind of crazy because, we were standing back just waiting for an opportunity when he wasn't getting mobbed to just have an honest and genuine conversation with him. And finally on night 2, that opportunity popped up. And so me and one of my business partners walked over and, we introduced ourselves, and he had sent us emails saying he wanted to talk to us at some point about, different things here and there. And we sat down and we talked to him, and I kind of started the conversation off by, telling him my story in the Sandbox. And my story within the Sandbox basically is about 2 years ago, my little brother introduced me to this world. And once I started researching it, I sent an email to the CEO and the COO of multiple metaverses. It was the Sandbox. It was 4 others. And I made sure to ask a series of questions about why I should invest my hard-earned funds in these projects. And nobody responded, except for Seb. Not only did he respond, but he answered every single question. I'd asked 5 to 10 questions. I don't remember what it was, but it was a good amount of questions. I wrote a little novel, and he answered every single one, bullet point by bullet point, and then he responded back with questions that I should ask myself about why I wanted to be involved in this metaverse and whether or not it was right for me. And that was, like I said, it was like 2 years ago, and fast forward to now, and I'm having more fun than I've ever had at work, and I'm making better money than I've ever made. And
sure.
He planted that seed. And so I told him that story, and then I was like, and now I want to tell you about my project. And he's like, and now I want to hear about it. And he listened, and he responded really well, and he couldn't have responded better. And he put me in contact with all of the people from the Sandbox that will be able to help me and my partners and my team launch this project in a way that's going to be successful and fun and lucrative and just beneficial to the Sandbox as a whole. This isn't just going to benefit me. It's going to benefit anyone that owns land or has just some sort of a presence within the Sandbox. I know that's a grand statement, but I really do feel like bringing big names, big things to the Sandbox benefits every single one of us.
Yeah.
There was, I bumped into a couple studio owners while we were out there, and I was talking to one of them, and I was like, "Well, do you guys need help with anything? Like, can I possibly lend you lend any aid?" And it was very genuine when I asked that, and one of the guys just kind of like looked at me, and he was like, "Why would you want to help us? We're your competition." I just laughed, and I didn't mean to offend him, but I think that's what ended up happening. He's like, "Oh, you don't think we're competition?" And I was like, No, that's not what I'm saying. You guys are amazing, and you do incredible work. And everybody should be threatened by everybody, but nobody should be threatened by anybody, because there's so much food at this table. We will never be able to eat it all. We are going to be successful. And if I help you be a little more successful, then that's just going to make the ecosystem that much better for me. So why wouldn't I want to support you? And he was just like, wow, I've never looked at it like that, but I can't believe I haven't, because you're right. We have more clients than we can deal with. And that's how it seems like it is for anybody that's been putting in real time and effort here. So it was literally like the highlight of the trip for me talking to Seb. He was kind, he was considerate, he was taking notes while we were talking. And at first I thought he was texting or something, but no, he was jotting down information about what I was saying. Translation, he was actually listening to me, which feels really good.
No, I agree.
I was on cloud 9 for the rest of the night. You saw me. I was literally bouncing around.
Like an hour later or something, you were like, hey, I got a story to tell you. And I got a story. I know the reason why you said it was going to benefit everybody. And we're not just talking about production platform to platform. And the beans that he can't spill will literally benefit everybody in the metaverse. So thank you for bringing that to the space, Lucas. And I can't wait for you to be able to announce that to the world. Because it's wild.
Thank you. So excited.
Okay.
That's my story.
So let's talk Sandbox from my limited perspective, because
limited perspective, he said.
Everybody
wanted to talk to Joe.
I said at the beginning of the show that I started in 2020, and I didn't realize how far we've come until about halfway through the trip. So let's go back to before I even got to Gotham Hall, which is the space that we rented out to do specific panels with partners, with friends of the Sandbox game. We hosted a whole bunch of panels. They were super cool, super popular, quite interesting to listen to. If you get a chance to listen to those, great. But I was in the line to get my ticket for NFT NYC, and immediately ran into the first realization that the Sandbox game is much bigger than I think it is, despite all of our partners. And
I'm excited. What was it?
Okay. So we're standing in line. It is Panda, Julia, Alex, me, my wife, and
your wife, who's amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yes, she is. Lucas said you're amazing. All right. So
I didn't know she was there.
Yeah, she's just working on her laptop right now. So we're standing in line, And this woman comes up to us with a guy who's got a camera on a gimbal, and she's got a stick microphone, wireless. And she's like, "Oh, hey, I'm just going down the line, and I saw you guys, and I thought I would ask you some questions for our live show. Who are you guys with?" And Alex is like, "Oh, well, we're with the Sandbox game. It's a metaverse company." And she stops him, and she's like, "Everybody here knows who you are."
I have a question. Was it Anne Marie?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Quite honestly, full disclosure, awful with names. Literally
totally
everybody, every person that I saw that I wanted to see, that I hung out with, like, and specifically we'll get there. I went, "What's your username on the internet?" Because that's the thing that I'm gonna know. Like, that's where I'm connected with you guys now. Is like, what's your sign name on Twitch or YouTube or whatever. Like, that's how I will remember you all forever. So I just immediately moved straight to that. Like, who have I been talking to for the last 8 months, right? And so anyway, so we get into that conversation. Eventually we get the tickets and we go through that thing, and I get down to Gotham Hall. And I want to say that my highlight, and you guys probably felt this for those people who were there, who were in person, is meeting you from the chat. The streamers, I feel like we talk candidly a lot, and we have a really good connection already. So it wasn't so much like, it felt like we had already met Lucas, right? Like, we hadn't shook hands, but it was like, all right, yeah, like, so later, like, we would go out to eat, and it was like just eating with your family. It didn't feel like, like anything.
There was no tension. There was no awkward silence. It was all
just vibe.
Good vibes.
Yeah, but well, Hillary, you're an exception because it says Hill in your name. And the one time that I got that wrong, remember the one time when I accidentally called you a guy because I knew a guy named Hillary, and whatever, I just said like bro or whatever, and you got real mad about it. So those are the things that I remember. And like, yeah, but like, but getting to see you guys and like actually like Rasul and D-Electronics and Hill and Iziology and just like Batman, like the people who in this community showed what this community is. I felt like you guys really represented the community spectacularly. Every human that I saw, because you were polite. And like, I went into this expecting that if a person asked, I would say yes to taking a picture. I wanted to. I put it out on Twitter, like, you see me, get the selfie, like, let's hang out, because I want those memories. But I personally don't like taking out the cameras, if that makes sense.
I know, I'm the exact same way.
Yeah. So I'm seeing all these people, but then, okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. The night one, we're hosting Steve Aoki, which in itself is like
bananas,
insane, right? Like, we have a private venue. Somebody asked a question in
gorgeous private venue.
Lucas, yes, that is the person.
Okay, so the girl that Joe's talking about is somebody that I know, incredible human being.
The interviewer from the street.
Yeah, the interview from the street. And it was funny because after she interviewed you guys, she sent me a message like, "Hey, where are you? Are you in New York?" And she sent me a screenshot of the interview, and I was like, "Hey, I know those guys."
Yeah,
it's like it was crazy, like all the little connections that came together during this weekend or during this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it is wild, right? Like how integrated we really are together. Like I'm going to get into more of this as we continue, because we've got a good like 45 minutes worth of great stories to tell here. But there was a question that came in. It says, how many people, if you had to guess the crowd size, went through the Sandbox Hall? And I'll tell you for a fact, NFT NYC had, because we did keep track, had 15,000 registered people for NFT NYC. Just night one, we had 1,600 people come to the party between 9 and 12. So it was wild. Like, everybody who was in New York either knew about the Sandbox thing and had a different NFT event to go to, or showed up at ours. And that was just night one. So it was a packed house. And the second night, I hope that I conveyed this correctly. I was already a little bit emotionally drained. And so I went for some comfort food in terms of people. My wife was there for the second night with me. And this is gonna be a fun 9 o'clock. We're getting ready for a DJ Tiesto's show. There's always some like pre-talent DJ that's doing the thing. So while the pre-talent DJ is there, we establish around this very small table. It's a standing table only, maybe a 3-foot square. And don't embarrass me too much. Don't worry, I'm going to. But not too much. Not too much, because it's a normal and
nothing
reasonable,
to be embarrassed about.
It's a normal and reasonable thing to happen, right? So she is a super nice lady. She is like ultra conservative, never does anything that like is like wild fun, right? Didn't do anything wild, but we're there at the table, and D-Electronics is there, and Game Dizzy is there, and Batman is there, and like lots of community members were there. And Hodel Hill came up to go to this space, and in that time, you guys showed me that you are the most amazing community on the planet, in my opinion, because I went to go get. I don't mean ultra conservative like politically, just to be clear, because she's putting some question marks in the chat. But I went to, somebody said Hill is outside, and I had asked Hill to go to the back door where staff only can go. This would not have been a problem at any other time, but earlier in the night, some people were trying to sneak in the back. So we had to put a security guard back there, and we had told the security guard, I did not know this at the time, that it doesn't matter. If you don't say staff, you don't get in. And I had my staff badge. So I walked to the back door. Like I was like, it's a golden gate. It will be closed. Don't worry. I'm going to come get you. And I open it up from the inside. I'm wearing my staff badge. And the guy was like, I don't care. She can't come in. And I was like, in my brain, I was just like, we paid for you to be here. Like, I have the badge that says that I'm here paying for this thing, right? Like the work that we put in as a community, right? So it was good in a way because security was doing their job, but I was just like, my brain was doing the thing because my brain sets expectations, and when they're not met, I kind of like twitch a little bit. And so I was just like, and after the second time, okay. So I guess I did definitely say it out loud. I work here. Yeah, either way. So then I'm like, screw it. We're going to go to the front door, right? And as I walk around the block, this is like a 5-minute process maybe. I go straight to the front again with Hill. And I'm like, hey, front door guard guy, who I also now don't recognize because it's day 2. I'm like, hey, I work here. And he does it again. He's like, you can come in, but she can't. And I was like, we're paying for you to be here. Just let this one person in, please. Like, and then Hill goes to the normal like landowners line, which I expected to take much longer than it took. So I'm glad that it didn't take forever. But I was just like, at this point, I'm just raging, but being like, okay, because I don't want to like misrepresent the sandbox, right? And so I just go inside without Hill, and so I get inside, and in the meantime, to preface this, my wife doesn't drink, and I was like, we're gonna let her, let loose a little bit today, and the bar, it was an open bar, right? The sandbox had paid for it for all the landowners and whatever, and so I had gotten her three drinks and a fourth at the time. Well, okay. It kind of didn't occur to me because alcohol doesn't really do anything to me. But one second. Somebody said I have an echo. I don't know if it's prevalent. No, yeah, sorry. It's just a little echoey. Sorry about that. Well, oh, it's probably because she laughed in the background. But anyway, the hope the audio will get better, but have a good rest of the show. Oh no, now I'm sad. I don't know what
I think that is fine.
No, I can hear the echo a little bit as well.
Oh, I can't at all.
Oh. I'll bet you it's because I have Discord going out. Let me just fix Discord forever. Output device. There we go. Oh, they can't hear you now. Triggered. No, I made it so that they can't hear you now. There we go. Screw it.
Oh.
Whatever. We're going to be a little echoey tonight.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I hear more from Lucas. It's like a stadium announcer effect. All right, well, we'll figure it out eventually.
We will. So I was saying I had the chance to meet the Sandstorm crew, and my God, they are incredibly handsome and amazing human beings, and they are all fun and kind, and I cannot say enough good things about Slaterade and Game Dizzy. They are wow. They are wow. They really surprised me. We had already vibed with together. I had already had a vibe with Game Dizzy and Slaterade, but man, Game Dizzy gets down. Like I would never expect that from his mild mannered demeanor online.
I know, it's wild.
He's just a gigantic ball of fun. And it blew my mind in the best way possible.
All right, so let me run back to this because it is in line with that, actually. I'm going to attest to that. So I'm there, and this doesn't make anybody else less awesome, right? Like Rasul and like everybody that we saw there are fantastic people. Everybody was very polite, super great community, top to bottom, all the way across. Everybody's fantastic. It's not hyperbole. If I didn't like you, I promise you would know.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Everybody was great. But this particular, remember I said that we gotten her 4 drinks. She never drinks. Turns out they were all doubles, meaning she'd effectively had like 8 drinks in 45 minutes. And then I decide to, go get someone. And as I go to get Hill, I come back in, and Brittany was like, "You were gone forever." Like literally thought that I disappeared off the face of the planet, like I died because of multiple things. First of all, we live in the middle of nowhere. You can't even go to a club here. And that was, remember, 1,600 people came through that night. Okay? So it was a lot of people in there the second night. And it did feel, she says it felt like much longer, but I would agree it probably did feel like much longer given that situation, because you're talking about like, there's a lot of like, things happening there. There's a lot of different, but
there was Dizzy, a lot going on.
If you guys could make sure that Dizzy actually sees that DM that's in Conrad's chat, Dizzy needs to send me their ETH address because specifically, while Batman was like chatting up Brittany and like making sure she was as comfortable as possible, D-Electronics is there like literally being like, he's like metaverse me. It's weird. D-Electronics looks almost exactly like me, but like a couple inches taller and like different hair color or whatever. It's wild. So Brittany like looked over and was like, "It's Joe," and then went like, "Oh, it wasn't Joe," and then like had an existential crisis a little bit. But I later a little bit after, like she kind of like clung to me a little bit for like probably like 30 minutes of just like, "Please don't leave." And I was like, "I'm not going anywhere now." Like, first of all, I didn't want to leave this table because we locked it down, and now this room is packed and it's full. But then she's like, "I need to go use a restroom." Right? So we go to the restroom, and she has this like also this fun little quirk where she also likes to be a little prankster. Apparently, when she's had some drinks. So we go to the restroom, and obviously I can't go in. So I'm like waiting at the doorway, and the doorway splits like this, right? It's like the men can go over here, and the ladies can go this way. And I just like wait right in the middle with her purse. And I'm like, okay, I'll see her when she comes out. Well, apparently on the ladies' side, there was another exit, like off to the side, that you could just leave. So I'm standing there with her purse, and I'm basically like a doorman at this point because everybody walks up and they're like, well, which bathroom do I go to? So I'm like, ladies over here, guys over here. And I'm doing this for like...
Would you like 10, a mint?
Yeah, exactly. Like 10 or 15 minutes. I'm like door greeting people to which section of the bathroom they should go to before Dizzy comes up. And Dizzy is like, hey, I noticed that you're standing here with your wife's purse, but I just want you to know that she's been back at the table for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, this mother... So I go back to the table to which she is hanging out with everybody. And fine, it's fine. It's fine. If it's not me leaving her, it's fine. She'll just peace out. See you later, Joe. I'm going to go hang out with these guys forever. And it doesn't matter. So I show up and she's fine. And she's just chatting it up with like Mandy Wayward, or Wayward Escapades.
Another incredible human being.
Yeah. And everybody super chill, nice people all over, the people that I had decided ahead of time before I was going to be standing there until 2 in the morning, whatever, with this music bumping and lights flashing in my face in like, here's a thought that I had. First of all, Dizzy needs to message me because I'm giving Dizzy one of the 10 Santa Wizzies that I have for saving my life, basically. Because I would have just been at the bathroom being a doorman for the rest of the night with the Sandbox staff thing on. And Dizzy knows, but Dizzy hasn't sent me his address, so I need that.
That's Dizzy.
He was super excited, so I'm hyped. Thank you again for helping me not stand at the restroom all night long, which I'm sure Brittany would have laughed about by the time I saw her again. But contextually, while she was being mischievous, it took her like 3 very tall waters that they give you in a can. Liquid death water is what it's called.
Okay.
It took her 3 of those to get back to like level amount of drunk because she went way past the line on accident. Like that table was being used to hold us up. You know what I mean? And my body doesn't do that. My body does not do that. My body, it's dangerous levels of Joe has a super high tolerance. So you could have asked me a highly professional question and I would have just been like, yes, how can I help you? Yes, everything's awesome. I stay in it available, but I think I do that because I had to be the babysitter when I was 16 and we weren't supposed to be doing that and definitely weren't doing that. But yeah, we
definitely not.
Yeah,
definitely not.
But anyway, the community is fantastic. You guys are great. You're all wonderful human beings, and that's no stretch of the phrase.
Not even a little bit.
I never felt like anybody had pressured me to do anything. Everybody was super respectful. Also, we all immediately transitioned into the we're all people thing, which I thought was great. Got some wonderful connections, and I'd be more than happy to have any and all of you whenever you finish a project or whatever. If you want to showcase it, chat about it here on the show, come in, because you've done nothing but show that you're, you're
here for it.
Yeah, you're just great, everything, great people. It's wonderful. But that was night 2. Lucas. So night 3, we got to go out. It was the only night when there wasn't a The Sandbox scheduled party of some kind to close out the night. And I was exhausted by that point, so very glad that we could just go out to eat. Lucas, what was your day 3 like? Did anything memorable happen? Because I remember wanting to meet up with you on multiple different occasions, and the only time we ended up getting to see you was that moment when we sat down to eat that Szechuan Chinese food.
Oh yeah, night 3. Night 3 was insane, just like night 1, and just like night 2. Night 3 was insane. I sat down with I can't say who, but a series of one of the guys I sat down with is a producer, a really famous music producer, and he has worked with some of the biggest names I've ever heard of in my entire life, like names that everybody knows and that are known around the world. And he was asking for my time. Like, I was doing him a favor by being there and talking to him about this. And it just showed me, like, that was my final meeting of the day. And I left that to spend some time with the stream team because we had been planning this dinner. First, it was going to be on the first night, and then it was going to be on the second night, and then we moved to the third night. But I really wanted to be a part of this dinner. It was very important to me to be there for that. And so I told everybody when the series of meetings first started, hey, I've got a hard pass time where I got to get out of here, and there's nothing I can do about it. And they're like, oh, you going to an important meeting? And I'm like, one of the most important meetings of the trip. So all I ask is that we respect my time, and everybody was super cool about it.
Yeah.
But like I said, he was an older gentleman, but he got it. Like. And his resume, the things that he's accomplished, the people he's worked with were unreal. And he was a New York native. And he actually like took us on a little tour of like his part of New York. And he's like, oh yeah, that firehouse right there, Anderson Cooper lives there. This right here, this is actually a pretty cool speakeasy. It's one of the best jazz clubs in the town. And he brought us into this jazz club, and it was like something straight out of a movie. Like, it smelled like history in the best possible way. And it was just very like stereotypical 1950s speakeasy New York. And it was beautiful. And I was so happy to be there. And then he starts talking about his resume and like what he's done and what he's worked on. And I just couldn't believe that I was there in that spot with him talking about what we were talking about, because he wanted to learn all he could about the sandbox in that, 2-hour time window that we had.
I need to do something important real quick before I forget, because I have it right in front of me.
Oh. So we got to meet Wayward Escapades and her partner, Phil. And
partner in employment, not in life.
Yes, partner, business partner.
Yes.
She's happily married outside of that situation. But, her business partner, Phil, and they impressed me on... I feel like it's almost like I was getting desensitized to being impressed because everybody there impressed me. And that hat, let's talk about it.
Okay. So, somebody in the chat called it out right now. Maddox of Furia. Yes, Wayward's mom did make this at their request. I feel die inside.
Seriously?
Yes.
I thought Wayward made it. That's even cooler if it's from her mom.
Coolest mom ever. Absolutely. Yeah. I was super hyped to see this because it's like, it's just, again, it's a testament to the community, just being organic, being real, having fun together, and being able to see these people in person. Handmade one of one. I do believe so. I don't believe there's going to be another one of these in the world. And I'm going to treasure this. It sits right here.
It looks good on you. Looks really good on you.
And then I got one other thing that Brittany is going to scoff at because she trolled me a little bit and then I trolled her back. And then she was like, oh no, this can't be established as a thing. She's shaking her head over on the side. So the Sandbox game staff, we received one of these, which is the map, right? This is what we would flash to be like, I work here at Gotham Hall. Okay. But people like Andy Milonakis, or who hosted our panels, or Steve Aoki, or Tiesto, received this one. It says, talent. So I trolled my own wife. And I said, I'm Joseph the Talent. Maddie. just because I was cleaning stuff up, right? We had a bunch of like the lanyards. If you guys were there, you might have got a blue shirt if you joined us up at the booth on the second day. These blue shirts were normally reserved for staff. But once we had used them at the event, all of the ones that were not picked up by staff that hadn't been worn or whatever, we gave them away at the booth. And then we gave away a bunch of these really cool shades. I didn't take any because I can't wear shades, but they like folded here in the middle of the side pieces as well. Super compact little shades.
Really cool.
And then if you were a landowner and you got there on day one, you might have gotten a really nice jean jacket that had the sandbox in the back. I declined to take one because I wanted to make sure as many landowners as possible got one. However, they were super cool, so I understand if people were hype. I saw at Kincaid CEO shared something earlier today, where they were like, "Oh, I got the Sandbox like windbreaker," which I do have one of those. But I was super excited.
I made sure to grab one of those. Yeah,
it is. So like merch wise, like what the takeaways from the merch was like really cool. And it was all just like a love story to you guys. Just like no charge sort of thing. People had like fanny packs that like didn't look lame. They're so
cool. And I got one and I'm so happy.
Bucket hats were gone, I think, within like the first like 4 or 5 hours of having the doors open because everybody wanted a bucket hat. And a bunch of other,
I passed on the bucket hat.
Bunch of other little things that were available up there, but that was inside the landowners section of the Gotham Hall, and then the blue shirts that were for staff were out in the space. But yeah, it was a crazy experience, but probably none crazier. So about the time that we were all sitting down and we were eating dinner was the part when I realized like how big the sandbox was really getting, because it was the first time that I could like disconnect my brain, if that makes sense. Like I do this thing where if I know I'm going to be interacting with the community and like I'm going to see people that I'm working with, I'm going to be like hype. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be what I define it as being on. And I can't turn it off.
You're the best version of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm going to be like as positive as possible, as engaged as possible, as receptive as possible, which doesn't always happen. Like I'll slow down the way that I listen instead of interjecting. Like I used to, a younger Joe would essentially just be waiting to talk again. But
I feel like you and me were very similar people and are very similar people.
I think so. Based on the many conversations we had in New York, I agree with that. I noticed it pretty much right away with the way that you interact with people. But yeah, it's kind of wild. But it was at that moment when I realized how big the sandbox really was, because I was like, a Steve Aoki concert on its own, like you're selling out the stadium, and it's going to go wild, and everybody's having a great time. A Tiesto concert, you're selling out the stadium, it's going to go wild, and everybody's having a great time. And I was sitting there, and we're just like sharing all of these great Sichuan Chinese foods together, which, by the way, like regular, like the dish that sounded like the most basic on the menu, Sichuan chicken, was the best food there, in my opinion.
It was amazing. Everything was amazing.
But a lot of you guys were adventurous. Lucas, did you eat the jellyfish?
I didn't that night, but I have before.
Okay. So describe to them, if you would, what that experience is like. Because I didn't eat it, so I don't have firsthand knowledge of what eating jellyfish is like.
Okay. This is when I was in Thailand. So I had been drinking adult beverages at the time, but it's a consistency that's really weird. It's slimy, for one. It's like rubber, but no, actually, when Jell-O starts to get that film on the top of it?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that, but that's the whole meal. It's like that kind of, it's not solid Jell-O, but it's not melted Jell-O. It's just like really somewhere in between. And so it's a very odd consistency, and it's slimy. And when you eat it, it has this, depending on the jellyfish, I'm assuming, but the one that I ate sounded very similar to what everybody else was eating that night. And it kind of numbs things up. It makes things feel ways they shouldn't feel. Your mouth starts to feel a little dry inside.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's got this like almost medicinal taste to it. It's not something I would recommend on a regular basis, but it's absolutely something I would say people should try.
Yeah. So, yeah, when he says medicinal Slaterade, I think what they were describing the good feeling of when your arm falls asleep or your foot falls asleep.
That's the way Alex was describing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was referencing the actual flavor as well. Like,
oh yeah, okay.
It's got like almost, I don't know how to describe it, but you know when you're a kid and your mom tries to sneak like medicine into your ice cream or something, and you're like, sure, this ice cream tastes funny, I'm gonna keep eating it, but I know you're up to something.
Yeah.
But you like have that like weird in the back of your throat aftertaste kind of thing. That's kind of how it is.
Okay. Nobody knows what that is, Maddox of Furia, but I won't repeat it. Actually, he might. I don't know what it is. I've been a good kid for a very long time. Never did
none of that
kind
for
of
me.
Stuff. But the okay. So then it hits me, right? We had done Aoki. We had done Tiesto. And tomorrow, day 4, we're going to go to Terminal 5. And in a partnership with World of Women, we are going to launch Pride Week in New York at a Madonna concert that we are paying for before we leave. 3 world-class concerts and talents.
Not 1, not 2, 3.
And all of this is free to landowners.
Yeah. The display that put on
wild
was unbelievable. It was unreal.
It really was. Like, so I understood the scope of that, but full disclosure, don't have an appreciation for it. Madonna's got some great songs. All of them I recognized. I couldn't sing them. Like, I recognized Tiesto's The Motto more than I recognized Madonna's songs. But Britney literally got mad at me because I didn't. Okay, fun story. The cat's knocking over food. Pete, come on.
Pause. P.S. I love the fact your cat's name is Pete. I don't know why, but every time you yell at him to stop doing something and you use his human name, it cracks me up.
Yeah.
Proceed.
So he. I'm sorry. I'm stuck on that. We all get there. The Sandbox, we get there, right? And the security are doing their best. I'm going to put it that way. They're doing their best because they can't distinguish the difference in their minds between people who work for the Sandbox and people who own the Sandbox lands. And so we were like, we are from the Sandbox, and we would have one security guard go, the Sandbox is over there, and go to like the general admission line. And then we would have another security guard go, no, they're from the Sandbox, they go over here in a little like VIP line, right? So on the way through this process, Brittany, we got like 20 minutes left before the show is going to start. We got there really early, and she was like, oh, I don't have my ID. And it was like, okay, well, we'll get an Uber and we'll go back, whatever. So we get an Uber and we go back to the hotel. In the meantime, the rest of the Sandbox stream team and some other staffers are there in line in that same spot as we go back. We go back to the hotel, which takes 10 minutes. We had 20. We get the ID and come back downstairs. And we try to hail an Uber again, or a Lyft, or whatever. I'm not going to defame anybody or whatever, but we try to get a ride-hailing service. And in doing this, in getting this ride-hailing service to get back there where we're like, tick-tock, we got to go now. We got to be there because the door opens at 10, and that's when that VIP line is going to move. We were only like 10 people back in that VIP line to get in. In the meantime, the Sandbox staff was getting pushed around from one line to the other the whole time. Like, Alex calls me and he's like, I don't know where you are, but they just kicked us out of line. Now they're putting us back in line, and it's a whole thing. Meantime, a couple of Sandbox staffers are already inside because we're setting up the event and running all the stuff, right? But we we go back to the hotel. We're in the line again, like we're at the valet section to get an Uber back. Two, not one, two different Ubers in this 10-minute period attempt to get to where we are and just give up at Times Square. They're like, nope, I'm not picking you. Nope, I can't get through these people, this line of cars. I'm out. And a rickshaw pulls up. Like a dude on a bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you say good call. And I had a good time. Mm-hmm. But he pulls up.
Rickshaws are fun.
He pulls up, he says nothing. And he's just like, you need a ride? And we're like, yes, we are desperate for a ride. Let's get on here. He doesn't tell me the rates. We just get on. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Sure. How far is it away? He's like, I guess I can do that. And as Brittany in the chat is saying, I literally watched the cars turn around on the app and I saw my life flash before my eyes. She's just around the corner. We are on this rickshaw. This guy is no F's given anywhere. We're going, weaving between cars. It doesn't matter. He gets literally as physically close as possible. In chat, you can see this microphone. Okay, I'm going to turn it sideways. Mm-hmm. He does this. He goes, like, almost touches the vehicles in front of him. And keep in mind, the rickshaw part is wider than the bike he's on. So, you know, it's a close call every time. And not only that, but every time he pulled up to a red light, if he was the only thing there or if he was at the front of the light, he would do hard figure eights, like at the light, just for something to do, just whipping it around back and forth. And like, we're in the back going like, boosh, you know, flying on the side of this rickshaw, to which I'm having a great time because this guy's like bumping custom mixes that are just playing, and I'm like,
he was a DJ.
Yeah, like he's doing it all. He's doing it all. And Brittany is like, save me, like gripping the like seat and stuff, like holding my arm and stuff. And she's like, I'm like, this is fun. And she's like, I hate this, out loud. He can hear it. I hate this. He did not change his way of driving that bike, that rickshaw. All right. So we finally get to the event.
What I was saying is, this is how I die.
Yeah, this is how I die. And you see her in the chat saying, I thought our daughter was going to become an orphan. So we
it's funny, but not. But funny.
Yeah, right. But we get to the venue. Now we're at 10:10. So we're past the door check. But we're not. Because all of a sudden, that VIP line has just kind of turned into a general admission line, because nobody was going up and down the line as security saying, if you own an NFT, go to the other side, right? Seems like a simple enough thing, but the security guards, once again, didn't know the difference between what a The Sandbox VIP or World of Women VIP was and what the general admission, if you own an NFT line was. So they came down the VIP line saying, if you are The Sandbox or a World of Women, go to the other side. And I was like, literally nobody moved. Because they were like, well, I'm a VIP. Or they were like, well, they told me to line up here, right? And so I was just telling the person right in front of me, all the way up till I got to nearly the front of the line, like, hey, you just have an NFT, right? And they'd be like, yeah, I have an NFT. And I'm like, that's the other line. And they're like, well, we've been waiting here. And they would send one of their friends to go confirm that. Their friend would come back and be like, yes. And then they would go off. The people behind me, ignoring me entirely, even though that was the same thing. The people in front of them ignored that statement entirely and the confirmation and still did it. So it was like very slowly making my way up and very slowly crushing people's souls all the way to the front of that line until we get like 20 feet from the front. And like I had been texting the team the whole time, being like, hey, these guys in security need to come out and announce that the NFT holders need to go to the other line so that they don't get disappointed and everybody has a good time and we can actually get in these doors and the security guards aren't overwhelmed with all this nonsense, right? So eventually they start to do that, but once again, they don't say the NFT part. So they're saying it wrong. They're going up and down the line once every like 25, 30 minutes or something. They had done that. And eventually Seb was like, Someone needs to go get our people now out of the line and just pull them out and go through the line. And what was her name? Simone? There was a very nice lady who was nice to us and none of the staff. I think it was like Simone.
She was a queen.
She was the greatest. She's like, send me a selfie because I have no idea who you are. Check. Send me a picture of the area around you because I don't know where you are. Mishka was the door check. This wasn't the person who picked me up, Conrad. It's a different person. But Mishka was nice as well. So I do this, and she finally, like, she sees us, and she's like, you two, come on. And just walks to the front, and she's like, where is the Sandbox list? Because these people paid for half the show, and they're waiting in line. What are you doing? And just every single human being in sight that tried to, like, stop us from getting in, she was like, F no. They are getting in because they paid for half the show. And just, I was like, oh, thank you. Because I could tell people that and like wave my badge and they were like, nah, dog. But then the actual show. Okay. So we finally get in. I've got like 3 different kinds of wristband put on me at this point. Only one of them was relevant. We finally get in and the show was gonna be a blast. It was gonna be fantastic. I was not gonna have the appreciation for it that I should because it's not my kind of music, right? Brittany is saying that she came in like Wonder Woman. She might have been
very accurate
from the people of crypto. I'll go double check in a second, but she's a killer, wonderful person. And so we go in. We've got the VIP badge, and I'm like, I know we're supposed to be on the 2nd floor because we're Sandbox staff. So we go upstairs. We end up going to the 3rd floor of what I would later come to find there actually are 4, but they don't tell people about the rooftop one. So we get onto the 3rd floor that has like this VIP kind of skybox. And as soon as we come in, I was like, Brittany, do you want me to grab you a drink? Right? And she's like, oh yeah, sure. So I go up to the bar, I order a drink. And Brittany, can you remind me in the chat of the people who were... Oh, is it? Yeah. Nice. Yeah, it is People of Crypto, Simone. Nice. Super nice. But, and it was great to just have her go through and be like, you need to get your shit together. Yeah, this absolutely is her. She's amazing. She's getting a follow right now.
Wait, is she in the chat right now?
No. Maddox linked the Twitter account for them.
Gotcha.
So, beautiful person, though. Definitely. So, we're up there, and I'm getting a drink at the bar, and I come back with a drink for Brittany, and she don't like rich white people. Good. I mean, screw them. So, I come back with the drink, and I give it to Brittany, and she goes, do you know who was just at that bar? And I was like, no, I don't. Because I'm not really looking around at all the people. Like, I'm just trying to, like, we're all here enjoying the same experience, right? And Brittany, what was the name of these people that were at the bar?
Christian Siriano.
Okay, Christian Siriano.
Zachary Quinto.
And Zachary Quinto. So,
wait. Zachary Quinto?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like the Zachary Quinto?
Yeah. And the
like
Christian
Spock?
Siriano. Yes, Spock. So, like, I recognize Christian Siriano as a name, sort of. But then I was like, well, who are they, right? Because I don't belong here. Literally, I don't belong there. My wife looks me dead in my soul and says, this is wasted on your straightness. Right? And then the show starts. So we're standing in the VIP box on the seat because we can't see in front of the people that are like in front of us. It's just 2 rows like deep sort of, but everybody's standing, right? And we start the show and a drag queen named Bob the Drag Queen comes out. I was like, oh, I recognize them from the shows that she likes to watch, right? And this person is a world-renowned star, won their competition that they show on VH1. And they're like the comedy act that starts out this Madonna event before Madonna is out there. And so they're great. They put on a great show. Another person comes out, and I was like, oh, I don't recognize this person by looking at them. And Brittany was like, oh, it's this other person who won. Now I come to find, after saying it wrong 7 times, she goes, they won season 7 of that exact same international drag race competition. Not like cars, like drag queens. And so I'm like, okay, because we're kicking off Pride Week with this event, right? And so like, it is now, we've got 5, 6, 7 global stars that we have directly, or 8, Annie Milonakis counts, that we have been in proximity with or like directly interacted with, and they are there because of the Sandbox game. And then the queens can drive real fast too. Anybody can drive fast if they like, I suppose. But we then go from there. Like, the show happens, Madonna comes out, does the songs from the new album, and like, it was a great show. And then we decide we're going to go to the rooftop deck bar, which people just don't know exists. We're just going to go up there because we know that it exists. We were, some people were there before the show started, so we're aware as staff. So we go up to the rooftop deck bar, where there are then another 5 to 6 former winners or like top 3 contenders in that exact same global drag queen competition, and they're all individually dressed as a different like look Madonna has had in a music video historically. And Brittany like was just starstruck to the point where she was like, I know all of these people, but I am so like shook right now that I don't remember 2 of their names. Like, they're just all winners, and they've never had like this many people in the same proximity at the same time. Like, this show is on another level. And it was just wild to, again, like going all the way back to the beginning, where we talk about like what the Sandbox game can or has become. And like, we're still kind of just started right now, and we're doing that. Right? Like, all of these people who are here in the chat that are building in this space and creating, like, we're getting these new partner deals, right? And we kind of see these come in, and it kind of becomes maybe a little bit numbing, where you're like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's great. Like, I'm glad that we've got these like global superstars here in the space. And now you guys that are all watching, like, or Lucas right here with his team, like, we're builders in this space that are making these sorts of events possible to be like rewards for landowners, right?
This wasn't something that was put on for profit. This was something that was put on as, it was a thank you card.
Yeah, not a ticket was sold.
That's unreal.
Yeah. No, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, the whole experience. So Lucas, you mentioned I'm gonna get a form going here as you
I actually already have it.
Oh, all right. Well, then if you want to put it in there, superstar.
Absolutely. Give me one moment.
All right.
I'm gonna just copy and paste this, and where did my restream chat go? There it is. All right, I'm dropping it here, and now I'm gonna pop on over to Twitter, drop it there as well.
All right.
So you wanna hear something fun?
Yes.
Fun, funny, crazy. I don't know. Call it whatever you want. Just kind of this goes back to our comment earlier about we are similar human beings. While at the event, I saw a talent badge. After everything was said and done, the event was over. And so I just kind of looked around and I was like, hey, Panda, can I have this? And she was just like, it's just going to get thrown away if you don't. So I slid it into my pocket. And I had been walking around my house calling myself Lucas the Talent for, well, however long it's been since I've been back. My wife said, she's like, you can be Lucas is right or Lucas is the talent, but you cannot be both.
All right. So for anybody who is a fan of that space, Brittany has named and cited their position in the competition. Every one of the drag queens that was there. And it was wild.
That's awesome.
Lucas the Talent. I'm going to let you have Lucas the Talent, I think. Because I didn't really want it. It was a single meme. But maybe, we could both be the talent. We could be the talents. Both? The talents. You know, you get so much talent on the screen at once, chat. What are you going to do? I don't like it. It's conceited for me. For me personally to say it about myself, I don't like it.
How about I say it about you, you say it about me?
Wow. We're really pumping each other up there.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, Lucas, we're amateurs. We're amateurs right here.
Absolutely.
We're amateurs because we got the talent badge, whereas Rad Condad in the chat literally looks at the bartender in their soul in the last 30 seconds we're there. And he's like, "You gonna keep this drink menu?" And the guy's like, "You bought it." And so he just takes the whole drink menu in the hard plastic, just commemorating forever. It's pretty wild. Low Buns asking, what's the prize for the form? The prize for this form is going to be a Wizzy the Green's Lucky Hat NFT that you can only win on this stream. That Wizzy the Green Lucky Hat can be worn inside any combat-based experience in the Sandbox Game Metaverse or in the Sandbox Game Maker gallery.
Yeah. Couple things I want to throw out there too. Well, you guys were all at the Madonna event. Hoddle Hill was kind enough to let me tag along to Ape Fest.
Yeah.
And
oh man, that was a choice to make, wasn't it? I mean, it was a good choice. You made a fine choice, but
yeah, it was. It wasn't as much fun as the Sandbox events. Those were a lot more intimate while still being more rowdy. It was really weird. It was a different vibe, a different feel. Because I feel like Ape Fest was crazy. It was rambunctious. But it was in an outdoor arena. And while it was, like I said, it was tons of fun and it was a real good time, it just didn't have the same vibe to it. But there was a wow factor to that, once again, we're talking about, the amount of money that's in this space. And it was Pier 13 or Pier 17. I don't remember the number, but it was one of those Pier 17. And the entire pier was aped out. When I say the entire pier, I don't think anybody really that wasn't there understands what I mean. The planks of wood on the ground had been removed and new ones had been put down with either Ape Fest stickers or logos or brands in them.
Wow.
The sails on the ship in the harbor had Ape Fest sails. It was, the wallpaper had been changed out to all the different apes.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then to top it all off, Snoop Dogg and Eminem came out.
Wait.
What?
Dizzy's here. Dizzy, send me your ETH address in a DM.
Dizzy, ETH address.
On Discord, please.
Now. No arguments.
Okay, thank you. Continue. Sorry. So the biggest announcement of the weekend basically was that Snoop and Eminem.
Yeah. Eminem was only there for 30 seconds. He introduced his ape and then did his thing somewhere else. But they introed their music video, which is basically a real life cartoon juxtaposition type situation where they're constantly phasing from one set to the other. And it was so well done and it was so much fun. And I was blown away. I walked into this situation and I didn't know what to expect, and it definitely took my mind and removed it from my body for a few minutes.
Yeah, no, it was wild. I guess that's a good takeaway from the show. And another thing that kind of gave me more scope on what we're really doing here, as a community, was that when you want to compare, who else put on a show that was like our shows, the only one that was close
that I saw.
Right. I mean, in terms of having the best venues and the best overall performance, I would agree that the Sandbox did the best. But in terms of just if you only looked at the talent on the card, right, you know, the Bored Apes also did great and had a great show. They were unique. They were a little bit different than what we did. And I hope that a lot of community members would agree that we were a little bit more intimate, a little bit more in tune with people.
100%.
I guess the only person who could probably say yes or no in the chat is going to be Hodel Hill, because it seems like Hill went to everything single party. It was wild.
Everybody wanted her at their event.
Right.
That's all that's what I took away from the weekend. She is the secret kingpin of crypto.
Yep. It's wild. Because I always see Hill commenting on a bunch of stuff on Twitter and being like, you know, this group, that group, this NFT, what have you. But like that kind of really all translated and came together for Hill at this show, because it was like, oh, I got the, you know, you want in, I got you. I got the ticket for that. Oh, hey, check it out. Don't click on that, YouTube. Real quick.
Oh, is it?
Just block some.
Son of a beasting.
Block some.
I got it.
Block some of them real quick. Here we go. Oh, another one. Very good. Block you. Here we go. Anyway, where's the Sandbox going next? To my knowledge, the next big event that we have. Oh, I guess we should go to day 5, right? Maybe.
I kind of lost track after day 2. It was day 2, and then it was infinity, and then it was home.
Yeah. So basically, day 5 was a nothing burger. It was we're all getting ready to go catch a plane and figure stuff out. I think, unless this was still day 4 before the Madonna show. I'm kind of getting lost in my own head. But one of the only places that I really wanted to make sure we went to was a place over by Madison Square Garden called New York Pizza Suprema. And that's it's just the best. And there's no exaggeration. I have like no appreciation for food, and that's a sad thing to say, but like I could eat if it's awful or if it's great. Most of the time I don't know the difference. But between that and the Sichuan, like worlds were being unlocked. I had been there some 13 years earlier. I'd been to this pizza place, and I was like, we have to go again. We must go again. So we go there with a lovely gentleman named Rodolphe from in the Paris team, who is being the person who makes the calls on who needs to be there for the next show. And that pizza place, we're all sitting there, and he's like, you guys should be going to Montreal. So there's an event coming up in the fall, early fall. I'm not going to confirm that date just in case something does fall through or something. But currently we're planning on having a big, like 25 by 25 foot booth there. And so, yeah, if we get a chance to see each other again at that point, or if we have some people who are watching from our Canadian audience that would like to hang out, I know that would be, once again, an eternal flight for Hill, but you wouldn't have to go through customs or whatever. Customs, that's not right. Is it?
I have no idea.
I don't remember. Nonetheless, we will be probably, not going to confirm it 100%, but we will be coming to Montreal. So you guys will have a chance to hang out with us. Once again, when we do those things, I fully encourage that people, if you can, ask, please. Just ask for that selfie, hang out, tell me your stories, tell me about your experiences you've built, what you want to do. I asked some people that were on the show floor during this last week that we would be, or I said, what would you change, right? And they kind of came at me with a couple of things, which were great. It was like a small group of guys. They kind of came at me with a few things, but it was great also to see some of those people who aren't like us, where we're all super engaged in this chat all the time on YouTube and Twitch and DLive and all these places, because they said to me some things like that were Alpha Season 1 problems, where I was like, oh, I'm going to guess you haven't played since Season 1. And they were like, yeah, that was the last time that we played was Season 1. Was there a Season 2? and I like highlighted what season 2 was, what season 3 was coming up, right? I talked to another person who said, I own land, but I've never tried to use it, like to build anything in it. And they didn't know how developed the tool was until we saw that, or saw them there. So it's going to be a good experience. I think this is a gaming focused, not an NFT focused experience in Montreal. Okay, but we'll see.
That's awesome.
We'll see how that develops, and as hopefully we can get more people in the chat right here, watching and hanging out and learning more about the Sandbox game and how to build inside this space as we go forward. And I'd say like the largest takeaway that I can pull from this time in New York, aside from the realization of how big the Sandbox game really has become, is that we're not going anywhere. You know, like
maybe to the moon, but that's about it.
Right. Like because the build, the infrastructure, like what we featured in the booth on the show floor wasn't the Sandbox. We actually featured studios that are building in the Sandbox. And so we would have like the Sandbox person being like, this is what our larger ecosystem is. And then we would have the individual studios talking about what they are building inside the metaverse, right? And like, so we're seeing, like, we're already past the initial stage of will the Sandbox be a place or go to a place. I saw again the rumor, or like somebody kind of started to try to make a rumor about Meta possibly buying the Sandbox game, like as soon as we got out of NFT NYC, and Seb was like, we're not selling. Like, no, right? Again, right? But so even though we're in this time where generally speaking, ETH is down, Bitcoin's down, whatever, right? We're still strong on the roadmap. We are ahead of expectations on that. We have a huge community of amazing builders. We've got a huge community of partners that need those builders, and we're continuing to grow and expand. So I'm looking forward to this experience in Canada as an experience that can get us more developers, because I think that's what's going to be the good thing that's going to come out of that. Cross partnership with other teams from big game development studios could come out of this. It wouldn't be announced immediately, but it could. And then consumers that want to, we have, there is this, not us as the Sandbox, but there's this larger bad rap in the gaming community for some reason around NFTs in general, right? And so having the opportunity to show that we are not this like evil thing out there. When somebody says it's bad for the environment, we can come through and be like, we're on Polygon, right? It's less impactful to the environment than an email to make an NFT, right? And we planted a bunch of trees already, like as a offset to what we do end up generating, right, in the long term.
The NFB project.
Yeah. Yes.
There's
NFBs.
There's multiple aspects of the Sandbox that are giving back to the world as well as the community itself.
Yeah. It's like having an opportunity to go into that, what I would objectively call at this stage, based on games press that I've seen, hostile territory, and just be able to have a regular conversation with people, and then like maybe just surprise them with, by the way, everything you create here you truly own, and there's a serial number that backs it as like a certificate of authenticity, and you put it that way instead of saying NFTs, right? Or saying Web3. You don't even say those things, and they can be like, oh, I like that, and then you're like, by the way, that means NFTs, and then they're like, oh, and change the way that they think about it in there. I think that'll be a fantastic experience, and I'm just hoping to pull as many new builders and creators from that as possible. Also, I guess, you guys probably already know because you're here in the chat and you're highly interactive, but we did announce the Good Morning, Afternoon, Evening Game Jam.
So excited.
I leaked it as well before we announced it, and then I announced it on the stage, and then we announced it officially. I announced it standing there with Andy and the creator of the phrase Good Morning, Afternoon, Evening, PandaPops, and Alex as well. And it was just... It's just a lot of fun to see you guys. I really want to see what you build, because it's going to be interesting to see the juxtaposition between people who just build a game and happen to include are avatars as characters, and then people who build something because they're here all the time. Because quite honestly, I'm more inclined to appreciate the high quality game that kind of ignores that I am me, with the exception of maybe my name. If you want to, you don't even have to, just use my asset. But the avatars, NaviVox, you can find, there is actually a collection.
I'm dropping the link.
Do you have the collection link?
I do.
For that? Wonderful. So NaviVox.
There's the collection link for the avatars that Joe is talking about right now.
Yeah, so you'll use each of these assets inside your experience at some point. They do not have to be featured front and center, but it is a good morning, afternoon, evening game jam. So there may be some people that want to see those kinds of themes featured. I can imagine there's probably going to be a whole bunch of this phrase, I feel die inside, coming out of my character at some point, but it's a lot of fun. So Lucas, we're running a little long. This is long for you, isn't it?
It is.
It's like 10 p.m.
I still haven't closed the form out, so
all
I'm
right.
going to do that now.
All right, that sounds good. Yeah, there we go. Game Dizzy and Yaser Beams in the chat talking about a need for public outreach and education, because the general public only heard negative things if they've heard anything at all with regards to NFTs. And I think that's slowly changing, maybe if nothing else by brute force, because a lot of these studios or, fashion companies or, I mean, you talk about like Kanye West, love him or hate him, they released an album that it wasn't even an NFT, but they just sold the album on a flash drive, I think. Just straight cost, like what it would cost for an album normally, like $20, and made way more than had they gone through the traditional system of like through a publisher or whatever, just by doing it themselves. So like the fact that the profit can go directly to the artist that is creating these things is, I think, enough to just change the industry and force the idea that if you still like their content, if you still like that artist, you will get it on their platform. And one of the interesting things that we have going for us right now, right, is Death Row Records. Snoop has made it quite clear that all the new artists that he will have on Death Row Records are coming to the metaverse first. So all these premieres, all these sorts of things are...
That is so beyond cool.
Yeah.
Like, history is in the making right now. When the internet first came around and, some people were like, hey, this www thing sounds kind of neat. And all their friends were like, you're stupid. That's never going anywhere. And, like that random person who bought the domain for Coke, like, this is that moment in time. Like, things are happening right now. Technology is changing. The world is evolving. And we're at the forefront of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like that goes back to the predominant amount of people who are watching right now are people who have been working with our tools, that you are developers, right? And we are seeing these studios and these jobs coming up out of this space because the demand is so great. You go back to Snoop and you're looking at their, what is it, like 100 plus lands that Snoop has. And it's like, you need 6 months to get it at minimum to get a good development on a 1x1. Like a really high quality experience, and scale that out to the 166,000 plus lands, and everybody in here has worked, right? Like you all have cash money work that you could be doing right now in the metaverse. And again, none of these experiences, all these UGC experiences aren't publishable yet even, right? Like the question came out in the chat about like, can we start, after all this excitement, are we getting closer to us being able to sell our products on the marketplace, thus enabling everyone, it says us little people, but I'm going to say everyone, to keep creating and supporting our game? And yes, so the move that we saw today, Moonrider, the move we saw today to move lands onto Polygon is one such of those steps. You're going to see migration come in soon for all of the assets. And then once the assets have migrated over, those are all the prerequisite steps we have to just kind of opening the floodgates and saying everybody can mint, everybody can create. And then it's going to come down to the quality of your assets that you are making and the marketability of your assets as well. One thing that a lot of people are going to overlook at this early stage is that the best projects aren't always the best projects. Really high quality projects aren't just making high quality products. They have a high quality plan for their future. They have high quality marketing. They have high quality infrastructure in their team, right? Even if it's just an individual, so you need many components at a high quality level in order to be successful. You have heard the phrase starving artist before, and it's not because they aren't high skilled people. There are people who have died historically and their art was found later and become revered around the world because they didn't do or don't do the thing where you reach out to somebody and say, hi, I exist. In today's world, you have to, when you create that tweet, you need to have a hashtag, because if you're just saying it to no one, nobody can find you, right? Like if you just say, I created this piece in VoxEdit, but you don't hashtag VoxEdit, you're getting far fewer views in the social media internet era. So you need to promote your product as well, even as you are building it sometimes. If it's all yours, all original, you can't promote something that is someone else's IP or anything like that. But if you are creating in the space, even if you are just learning, get networking, get promoting yourself, because nobody will know that your product exists if they don't know you exist, right?
You're 100% spot on, and we have been working on Voxel Ocean for it's been over a year now, and the one thing that we keep learning is that we need more good people. And it's one of those like themes and concepts that continually repeats itself. And the longer we do this, the more fun we have, and the more we realize we need more people. And we're at around 13 staff members now, and we're not slowing down anytime soon. We're going to hire more, and we're going to continue hiring. And it's just crazy. Like, the opportunities that are arising, and the craziest thing is the more people that we hire, the more opportunities we have. So it's kind of an inverse proportion to a traditional business model, because usually it's still similar in some ways, where you have to balance the amount of work you put out versus the amount of work you have to do. So you're not, hiring or paying too much hourly for whatever is going on. But it's been really easy for us to balance it and make it beneficial for everyone involved. And it's just absolutely nuts.
Yeah. So a couple of things I'm seeing in the chat. First of all, I see Maddox of Furia, who has been active in the chat. I want to send a special thank you to you for doing a bunch of live streams while I wasn't here and realizing how exhausting this process really can be. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Maddox of Furia is a genuinely amazing human being, and I've become more and more fond of him as just the months go on. He's crazy. Oh, crap. Oh, pardon my language. Guess who won?
Who won?
I have a picture of the random number generator in case anybody doesn't believe this actually happened. But candidly, Kristen over on Twitch, congratulations.
Hey, wow.
You won yourself a hat.
It took forever.
That's amazing. Wow.
That's great. I'm glad that you won. You're like the most engaged human in the Sandbox community.
Quite literally.
Period. It's wild. Like, I'm pretty sure your tweets are almost better than the official Sandbox tweets at this point. If you're not following Candidly Kristen, go do it. You won't miss a moment.
Regarding Candidly Kristen, the questions that she asks, we have an ambassador chat. She is always the first person in there to ask poignant questions in a way that says, this isn't a request for information. This is a semi-demand for information because I want to be helpful to the community. And it's wonderful.
Wait, she won already with me, according to Rad Condad.
Oh.
And Kristen also says, I think I won from Conrad, so you have to re-roll. I thought we were out of those, so I just entered thinking it was something new. Hey!
Nope. Thank you for letting us know, though. All right. Pulling up the thing again. It was nice to see your name on the forum, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. Everybody's now it's gonna be Maddox Superior, and if it is, I'm not rolling. I just want to full disclosure. I'm not rolling. It's not on my screens. I would have been looking over here. It would have been me doing that. Lucas is doing it. I'm not in any control here. A question comes in from Bin4896. Thank you, Jaswell, for reposting this one, asking, will there be a good morning, afternoon, evening show tomorrow? And tomorrow is a Wednesday, so there will not be. However, I am scheduled for 2 interviews tomorrow. And that, let me get the 2, I wrote them down because I don't want to miss one. Keeping in mind, I have these tagged as my time. So I am on Pacific Daylight Time currently. It is almost 10 p.m. So in 12 hours, I've got one show. The Behind the Avatar Twitter Spaces I'll be doing with crafter.eth. And then I am also going to be on Nerd FT Radio at 4:30 p.m. Wednesday, my local time. So that's about 6.5 hours later as well. So I have a couple of shows. We're just going to be chilling and chatting on Crafter's show. So if you want to hang out and check those out over on Twitter, they're going to be doing it with their official or their personal, but you should also be able to see that I'm in the Twitter Spaces if you are following me over on Twitter at TheVisionEX. So we'll be talking about all sorts of different random stuff there. And then Nerd FT Radio is going to be a little bit more serious about the NFT space, I believe. So, yeah.
Would you, when we get out of here, would you send me the information for all that? Because I would love to listen to both of those.
Sure.
Both Crafter and Nerd FT Radio both, approached me about being on their shows as well, and I would love to get some info before I go on.
Kind of get a feel for the vibe in there. Yeah, absolutely. I will.
Thank you.
I've got it right now already in the. I pasted in our streamer chat yesterday, 1:19 p.m. our local time. So you could look for that, but I don't have links directly to them because one of them's a Twitter space, and the other one is going to be a pre-recorded, meaning that they won't publish it just immediately. But as soon as it does get published, I'll let you know.
Congratulations goes out to Little Legion Org. They are the new winner of Wizzy's green hat.
All right. Little Legion's in the chat all the time as well, so it's good to see familiar faces coming out tonight, hanging out with us. Yeah. Lucas.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My friend, we're running a little long today. Full disclosure. I drank that can of water really fast. So I'm going to start to wrap it up here. Yeah, we're going to do a raid over on twitch.tv. Okay. So if I go to twitch.tv/the Sandbox Game, we always raid at the end of this show. So if you are... Oh, that's going to do a little reverb right there. A little reverb, boy.
Who are we raiding?
We're going to figure it out in a second here. I am currently listed as talk shows and podcasts, but I shouldn't have been. And that's okay because we're actually doing a little talk show and podcast basically right now. But anybody who streams the Sandbox Game while we are live streaming, I will raid those people. Not Animated is currently streaming. So if you would like to hang out, they are a bilingual Spanish-English speaker, so you can ask all the questions about the Sandbox Game. They're also a great builder, great artist. And they make things that are not just the Sandbox art as well, so you might want to check them out. But we're going to raid them here in just a second. And I'm going to start that up. I'm going to play our outro music. And once again, if you'd like to join us and you're watching over on youtube.com or Twitter, DLive, Theta, Facebook, you can join on twitch.tv/NOTANIMATED. Chat.
Yes.
Lucas.
What's up?
The talent is right. It's been my pleasure to hang out with you, Lucas. We're going to get this raid going. Yeah, it's been a good show. Had a good time. Maybe I'll talk a little less next time. On Saturday, you can spill some more beans if you have any more of your experiences at NFT NYC. What do you think about that?
I think that sounds amazing, but I don't like the part about you talking less because I enjoy it. So let's just keep it rolling.
I appreciate you, Lucas. I'm gonna dance it out.
Absolutely.
See you guys later, Twitch.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. It's really good to be back. I'm trying to dance, but can't really hear the music, so just kind of wiggling, I guess.
He can't hear the music. He can't dance.
No, I'm just guessing. So if it's way